A young girl dances on screen, her movements fluid and joyful, her smile infectious. This is the last TikTok video Nasia Turner would ever post. Just days later, on January 18, 2025, the vibrant 17-year-old known to her fans as Sia would be found slumped in a vehicle outside Los Cerritos Center mall, a bullet wound in her chest, her promising life extinguished in an instant. The contrast couldn't be more stark. One moment a teenager dancing for her hundreds of thousands of followers, the next a headline in a tragedy that would claim 18 lives and leave 10 others wounded. For the 310,000 people who followed Sia's every post, who watched her Get Ready With Me videos and mimicked her dance moves, the news was incomprehensible. "I just saw her new video yesterday," one follower commented. "How is she gone today?" The Los Angeles County Sheriff Department responded to reports of gunfire at approximately 7:30 p.m. that Saturday evening. What they discovered would send shockwaves through both the local community and the vast digital landscape where Nasia had built her following. A high school graduate with dreams and ambitions cut down before she could fully realize her potential. In the hours following the announcement of her death, Nasia's follower count surged as news spread. People flocked to her page, watching her videos on repeat, leaving comments of disbelief and heartbreak on her final post. That 15-second clip of her dancing became a digital memorial, a frozen moment in time when everything was still possible for the young content creator. "Rest in peace, Sia. We will miss your videos," wrote one fan. "I'm still in disbelief," added another. The tragedy at Los Cerritos Center raises profound questions about safety in public spaces, about the epidemic of gun violence in America, and about how quickly a life full of promise can be taken away. As we examine what happened to Nasia Turner that January evening, we'll explore not just the circumstances of her death, but the vibrant life she lived and the legacy she left behind. Before we continue with Nasia's story, I want to ask you something important. Have you ever felt the impact of gun violence in your community? The ripple effects of these tragedies extend far beyond the immediate victims. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences matter, and together, perhaps we can work toward preventing more senseless losses like Nasia's. Now, let's look more closely at the life of the young woman whose dancing brought joy to hundreds of thousands and whose death left a void in both the digital world and the real one. Born and raised in South Carolina, Nasia Turner wasn't just another teenager with a smartphone and dreams of internet fame. She possessed that rare quality that can't be manufactured or faked, an authentic charisma that radiated through the screen. Standing just 5 feet 1 inch tall and weighing 49 kilograms, Sia may have been petite in stature, but her personality was anything but small. "She was always smiling and dancing on my feed," one fan recalled. "It was impossible not to feel happy watching her videos." Nasia's content struck a chord with viewers seeking genuine connection in the often superficial world of social media. Her dance videos showcased not just talent but unbridled joy. Her Get Ready With Me posts offered glimpses into her daily life, creating an intimate bond with followers who felt like they knew her personally. This authenticity helped her amass over 310,000 followers on TikTok and 36,000 on Instagram. Impressive numbers for anyone, let alone a 17-year-old from a small town. What set Nasia apart wasn't just her content, but her consistency and determination. While many aspiring influencers post sporadically or give up when fame doesn't come quickly, Sia approached her social media presence with dedication. She understood the importance of engaging with her audience, responding to comments, and creating content that resonated with her growing fan base. By the time of her passing, Nasia had already achieved a significant milestone: high school graduation. With her diploma in hand and a substantial social media following, she stood at the threshold of adulthood with countless opportunities ahead. Friends described her as ambitious, with plans to leverage her online presence into broader opportunities. Some speculated she might pursue fashion or entertainment, industries where her natural charisma and eye for trends would serve her well. Despite her rising fame, those who knew Nasia described her as remarkably grounded. She maintained close relationships with family and friends, never letting her online popularity change who she was at her core. This authenticity resonated with her followers, many of whom saw in Sia not just an entertainer but a role model. "She showed us you could be successful just by being yourself," wrote one young follower. "No gimmicks, no drama, just talent and positivity." While much of Natsia's family background remained private, a deliberate choice in an era where oversharing is common, it was evident she came from a supportive environment that nurtured her talents and ambitions. This foundation gave her the confidence to put herself out there, to dance like nobody was watching, even when hundreds of thousands were. In an online landscape often criticized for promoting unrealistic standards and harmful content, Nasia's page stood as a beacon of genuine joy. Her videos weren't heavily edited or artificially enhanced. They were simply moments of a young woman enjoying life and inviting others to do the same. "Following Xia was like having a friend who always knew how to make you smile," one fan commented. "No matter how bad my day was, her videos could turn it around." This was the magic of Nasia Turner. Her ability to forge connections through a screen, to make strangers feel like friends, to spread positivity in a digital world often lacking it. It's what made her rise to TikTok stardom so swift, and what made her sudden absence so deeply felt by hundreds of thousands who never met her in person but mourned her as if they had. As January 2025 began, Naxia's star was still ascending. No one, least of all the vibrant teenager herself, could have predicted that in just a few weeks her final video would become a digital memorial, her comment section a collective space for grief, and her life story cut tragically short outside a Southern California mall. January 18, 2025, began as an ordinary Saturday at Los Cerritos Center, a popular shopping destination in Southern California. Families browsed stores, teenagers gathered at food courts, and shoppers carried bags filled with weekend purchases. Among them was 17-year-old Nasia Turner, whose presence at the mall that day would tragically become the final chapter of her story. As evening approached and the winter sun began to set, the normal bustle of weekend shopping continued. Security cameras would later capture the routine comings and goings of visitors, unaware that the footage would soon become evidence in a mass shooting investigation. For Nasia, it was just another outing, perhaps to shop for clothes she might feature in an upcoming video, or to meet friends at one of the mall's many restaurants. At approximately 7:30 p.m., the ordinary Saturday shattered. Gunshots rang out in the parking lot of Los Cerritos Center, sending shoppers running for cover and triggering numerous 911 calls. Panic spread through the mall as people fled or sought shelter inside stores. Within minutes, the first police units arrived at the scene, responding to reports of multiple gunshot victims. Deputies from the Cerritos station responded to the parking lot of the Cerritos Mall in regards to a gunshot victim call. Lieutenant Steve DeJong of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department's Homicide Bureau later told the Griffin Gazette, Los Alamitos High School's student newspaper. What officers discovered upon arrival was a scene of chaos and tragedy. Among the victims was Nasia Turner, found unresponsive inside a vehicle in the parking lot. First responders immediately noted the severity of her condition. She had sustained a gunshot wound to the chest and was not breathing. When they got there, they observed a female juvenile, 17 years old, with a gunshot wound, DeJong confirmed. Emergency medical personnel rushed to provide life-saving measures at the scene before transporting Nasia to the nearest hospital. Despite their efforts, doctors were unable to revive her. Nasia Turner was pronounced dead shortly after arrival, becoming one of 18 victims who lost their lives in what would be recorded as one of the deadliest mass shootings in recent memory. As news of the shooting spread, families of mall visitors frantically tried to contact loved ones. Social media platforms filled with messages asking if anyone had information about friends or family who had been at Los Cerritos Center. For hours, the area surrounding the mall remained locked down as law enforcement secured the scene, tended to the injured, and began the painstaking process of collecting evidence. The scale of the tragedy soon became clear: 18 people dead, 10 others wounded with varying degrees of severity. Among the chaos, police detained 4 young men for questioning, though authorities were careful not to immediately label them as suspects. For most of the victims, their identities would remain temporarily protected as officials worked to notify next of kin. But Naxia's status as a social media personality meant news of her death spread quickly online even before official confirmation. By midnight, her name had begun trending on social media platforms as fans expressed disbelief and sought verification of the rumors. The following morning, January 19, official confirmation came. Nasia Turner, known to hundreds of thousands as Sia, had indeed been among those killed at Los Cerritos Center. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department released limited details, confirming only that she had died of a gunshot wound to the chest and that the investigation was ongoing. "As far as the context and investigation, I can't elaborate," Lieutenant DeJong stated. "This investigation is going to go on for a while." The authorities' caution was standard procedure for an active investigation of this magnitude. With multiple victims, numerous witnesses to interview, and extensive forensic evidence to process, investigators knew that building a complete picture of what happened that evening would take time. What remained unclear and would continue to puzzle investigators in the days that followed was whether Nasia had been specifically targeted or was a random victim of the mass shooting. Was she in the wrong place at the wrong time, or was there something more to her presence at the mall that evening? This tragedy happened in Southern California, but gun violence affects communities everywhere. What state or country are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Your perspective matters as we try to understand the global impact of these senseless acts of violence. As night fell on January 19, the Los Cerritos Center remained closed, its parking lot still partially cordoned off with police tape. Inside one of those vehicles, a young life with unlimited potential had been extinguished. A life that had touched hundreds of thousands through a screen, and whose absence would now be felt just as widely. In the hours following the Los Cerritos Center shooting, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department launched what would become one of their most complex investigations of the year. The parking lot where Nasia Turner and 17 others lost their lives transformed into a massive crime scene, with evidence markers dotting the asphalt and investigators working through the night. The 4 young men detained at the scene underwent extensive questioning. Witnesses reported seeing them taken into custody shortly after police arrived, but authorities remained tight-lipped about their potential involvement. "This investigation is going to go on for a while," Elector Steve DeJong cautioned, refusing to elaborate further on potential suspects or motives. As dawn broke on January 19, the community awoke to the full reality of what had occurred. Local news stations broadcast live from the perimeter of the mall, where the parking lot remained blocked off with yellow tape. Reporters relayed the few confirmed facts available: 18 dead, 10 injured, and among the victims a teenage TikTok star with hundreds of thousands of followers. The investigation faced numerous challenges from the outset. The scale of the crime scene, the number of victims, and the hundreds of potential witnesses who had been at the busy shopping center created a massive web of information to process. Detectives collected security footage from the mall and surrounding businesses, hoping to piece together the sequence of events and identify the shooters. Meanwhile, as investigators worked to uncover what happened, Nasia's online community grappled with their grief in real time. Her final TikTok video, posted just days before the shooting, became a digital memorial. The comment section transformed into a space for collective mourning, with messages pouring in by the thousands. "I can't believe you're gone. Rest in peace, Sia. We will miss your videos. Rest in peace. My heart sending all my love and prayers to her family." The digital mourning soon manifested in physical form. On a clear afternoon the week after the shooting, hundreds gathered near the Los Cerritos Center for a memorial event honoring Nasia. Friends, fans, and community members brought flowers, candles, and handwritten notes. Photos of the smiling teenager were displayed prominently, surrounded by bouquets and flickering flames. One particularly moving moment came when attendees released purple, white, and silver balloons into the sky, a colorful tribute rising above the sight of such darkness. Many signed a large poster board with messages to Sia, creating a tangible record of the lives she had touched. The event, organized primarily through social media, demonstrated how Nasia's influence bridged the digital and physical worlds. Local schools offered counseling services for students affected by the tragedy. Though Nasia wasn't from the area, her status as a peer to many teenagers made her death particularly impactful for young people. Teachers reported students struggling to process how someone they followed and admired could suddenly be gone. As January turned to February, the investigation continued without public breakthroughs. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department maintained their methodical approach, interviewing witnesses, analyzing forensic evidence, and reviewing security footage. The 4 individuals initially detained had been released pending further investigation, though authorities wouldn't confirm whether they remained persons of interest. The lack of clear answers frustrated many, particularly Nasia's fans, who demanded justice for their fallen idol. Online forums speculated about potential motives, but without official information, these discussions remained purely conjectural. Law enforcement officials continued to request patience, emphasizing the complexity of the case and their commitment to thorough investigation over rushed conclusions. What became increasingly clear, however, was that Nasia's death had created ripples far beyond what might be expected for a typical shooting victim. Her status as a content creator meant that hundreds of thousands of people felt personally connected to her loss. In comment sections and video tributes, fans shared how Nasia had brightened their days, inspired their confidence, or simply made them smile when they needed it most. One fan's TikTok video documenting the memorial garnered over 2 million views, introducing countless others to Nasia's story. The comments reflected a collective processing of grief. "I never knew her before this happened, but watching her videos now, I can see why so many people loved her." As the investigation continued behind closed doors, Nasia's digital presence remained frozen in time. Her last dance, her final smile, her most recent comments to fans preserved online like artifacts. For her followers, these digital remnants became precious connections to a voice that had been silenced far too soon. Nasia Turner's death represents far more than a statistic in America's ongoing struggle with gun violence. Her story, a vibrant 17-year-old with talent, charisma, and hundreds of thousands of followers, puts a face to a crisis that claimed nearly 49,000 lives in the United States in 2024 alone. When we look beyond the numbers, we see the true cost: potential extinguished, families shattered, and communities forever altered. The Los Cerritos Center shooting that took Nasia's life wasn't an isolated incident. Mass shootings have become distressingly common in American life, occurring in schools, workplaces, places of worship, and, as in this case, shopping centers. These public spaces, once considered safe for everyday activities, now carry an undercurrent of vulnerability that many Americans have reluctantly accepted as part of modern life. What makes Nasia's story particularly poignant is the contrast between her digital footprint and her physical absence. Online, she remains forever 17, dancing and smiling in videos that continue to accumulate views. In reality, a single bullet to the chest ended all possibility of what she might have become. The high school graduate who might have gone to college, built a career, started a family, or expanded her influence for good. She had so much ahead of her, one follower commented. "I was excited to see where her journey would take her." The tragedy at Los Cerritos Center highlights several critical failures in our approach to public safety. A parking lot at a busy shopping mall on a Saturday evening should be a secure environment, yet 18 people lost their lives there. This suggests the need for enhanced security measures in public venues, not just inside buildings but in surrounding areas where people gather. Experts point to several preventative measures that could reduce the likelihood of similar tragedies. First, public venues like shopping malls should implement comprehensive security protocols. This includes visible security personnel, strategic surveillance systems, and emergency response plans that all staff members understand and can execute. Some malls across the country have already begun installing metal detectors at entrances, a measure that seemed extreme a decade ago but now feels increasingly necessary. Second, community engagement programs can help identify at-risk individuals before violence occurs. These initiatives create support networks where concerning behavior can be recognized and addressed through intervention rather than punishment. When communities are connected, warning signs rarely go completely unnoticed. Third, accessible mental health services are essential. While most people with mental health challenges never commit violent acts, providing support for those in emotional distress creates safer communities for everyone. This means removing barriers to treatment, reducing stigma around seeking help, and ensuring that quality care is available regardless of income or insurance status. Fourth, education campaigns about gun safety and violence prevention can empower individuals to take proactive steps. These programs teach conflict resolution skills, promote secure storage of firearms, and encourage reporting of concerning behavior. The shooting that claimed Nexia's life also demonstrates how gun violence creates concentric circles of trauma. At the center are the victims themselves, the 18 people who lost their lives and the 10 who sustained physical injuries. The next circle includes their immediate families and friends, whose lives are permanently altered by loss. Beyond them are witnesses, first responders, and community members directly affected by the event. But Naxia's story reveals another circle of impact unique to our digital age: the hundreds of thousands of followers who experienced her death as a personal loss, despite never meeting her. These digital connections, while different from traditional relationships, create genuine emotional bonds. When Naxia died, over 310,000 people lost someone who had been a regular, positive presence in their lives. "I watched her videos every day," one young fan wrote. "It feels like losing a friend." This ripple effect of trauma extends far beyond what previous generations might have experienced following similar tragedies. Before social media, the emotional impact of a shooting might have been largely confined to the local community. Today, when victims have large online followings, the grief spreads globally, creating collective trauma that's difficult to measure but impossible to ignore. Naxia's death also raises uncomfortable questions about how we value different victims of gun violence. Would the Los Cerritos Center shooting have received the same attention if all 18 victims had been anonymous? Does our society place higher value on lives that have achieved some measure of fame? These questions challenge us to consider whether we're giving appropriate attention to all victims of gun violence, regardless of their social media following. And the true cost of gun violence isn't just measured in lives lost, but in potential unrealized. Naxia Turner will never post another dance video. She'll never graduate college, pursue a career, or experience the milestones of adulthood. The hundreds of thousands who followed her journey will never see where her talents might have taken her. This is the immeasurable loss that statistics can never fully capture, the futures that never come to pass. In the months following Naxia Turner's death, her digital presence took on new meaning. Her TikTok account, once a showcase for her talents and personality, transformed into a living memorial. The comments section of her final video, a 15-second dance clip posted days before the shooting, continued to fill with new messages daily. "Watching your videos still brings me joy, even though you're gone." One said, "I show my little sister your dances, your legacy lives on." Another added, "This digital afterlife represents something unique to our era. The ability for someone's voice, image, and influence to continue reaching new people long after they've passed." Naxia's follower count didn't plateau after her death. It grew. New viewers discovered her content through news coverage of the tragedy, tribute videos from other creators, or TikTok's algorithm that occasionally surfaced her posts to fresh audiences. By April 2025, 3 months after the shooting, Naxia's TikTok following had surpassed 400,000, a bittersweet milestone she never lived to see. Her Instagram account showed similar growth, approaching 50,000 followers. Each new follower represented someone connecting with Naxia's energy and spirit, even in her absence. The physical memorials to Naxia evolved as well. What began as spontaneous gatherings with candles and flowers developed into more permanent tributes. In her hometown in South Carolina, former classmates planted a tree in her honor, with a small plaque bearing her name and the dates of her brief but impactful life. Local dance studios held memorial performances, with proceeds going to anti-violence initiatives. Perhaps the most significant aspect of Naxia's legacy emerged through the activism her death inspired. Several of her most dedicated followers, many of them teenagers themselves, channeled their grief into advocacy for stronger gun safety measures. Using hashtags like Dance for Sia and Justice for Naxia, they organized online campaigns that reached millions. One 16-year-old follower from Texas created a viral video series examining gun violence statistics and prevention strategies, explicitly crediting Naxia as her inspiration. "I never thought about these issues until I lost someone I looked up to," she explained in her first video, which garnered over 5 million views. Sia used her platform to spread joy. "I want to use mine to create change." The investigation into the Los Cerritos Center shooting continued, though updates became less frequent as months passed. In March 2025, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department announced arrests in connection with the case, but provided few details, citing the ongoing nature of their investigation and pending charges. For Nasia's followers, these developments brought mixed emotions: relief that progress was being made, but recognition that no legal outcome could truly deliver justice for what had been lost. What became increasingly clear was that Nasia's impact extended far beyond her dance videos and lifestyle content. Through her death, she had inadvertently become a symbol of potential cut short by gun violence, a reminder of what is lost when lives end prematurely. Young people who might never have engaged with issues of public safety and gun policy found themselves researching statistics, contacting legislators, and participating in community discussions. "Before Sia died, I never thought about these issues," one 15-year-old follower wrote. "Now I'm helping organize a student walkout at my school to demand better safety measures. I wish it hadn't taken losing her to wake me up." This awakening among young people represents perhaps the most powerful element of Nasia's legacy. In life, she influenced hundreds of thousands through her creativity and charisma. In death, she catalyzed a movement among her predominantly young audience, a generation that will soon be eligible to vote, run for office, and shape policy decisions. Nasia's story deserves to be heard. By subscribing to this channel, you're helping shine a light on victims of senseless violence and demanding justice for Sia and countless others. Hit subscribe, share this video, and join our community fighting to end gun violence. Together, we can ensure that Nasia's memory continues to inspire positive change, turning tragedy into purpose and loss into action. As we come to the end of Nasia Turner's story, we're left with the stark reality of a life interrupted at just 17 years old. A teenager with 310,000 followers, known for her dance videos and Get Ready With Me posts, silenced by a single bullet on a January evening outside Los Cerritos Center. The contrast between her vibrant online presence and her sudden absence creates a dissonance that's difficult to reconcile. What happened to Nasia and the 17 others who lost their lives that day represents a tragedy that has become distressingly familiar in American life. Mass shootings continue to claim lives in spaces where people should feel safe: schools, workplaces, houses of worship, and shopping centers. Each incident leaves behind grieving families, traumatized survivors, and communities searching for answers. Yet Nasia's story also reveals something unique about our digital era. When someone with a significant online following dies unexpectedly, their absence is felt not just by those who knew them personally, but by thousands or even millions who experienced a connection through screens. The grief spreads farther and faster than was possible in previous generations, creating ripples of impact that extend well beyond geographic boundaries. As we reflect on Nasia Turner's brief but impactful life, we're reminded that behind every statistic about gun violence is a human story. Dreams unrealized, talents undeveloped, relationships cut short. Nasia was more than a TikTok star. She was a daughter, a friend, a recent high school graduate with her future ahead of her. Her death at 17 represents not just the loss of who she was, but of all she might have become. Sia's light continues to shine, not as she would have chosen, but in ways that may ultimately create meaning from tragedy. Her story challenges us to consider what we're doing, individually and collectively, to prevent similar losses in the future. It reminds us that behind every headline about mass shootings are individual lives of immeasurable value and potential. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Nasia Turner. If this story moved you, please subscribe to our channel and share this video to help others understand the human cost of gun violence. Together we can honor Nasia's memory by working toward a future where no more young lives are cut short by senseless violence.